Hello guys, thank you very much for joining for this video. Today I'm going to be talking about a journey of one of my student, okay, Mayuri. She has been able to clear the FRM Level 1 exam in November 2021, and we're going to be going through her journey of preparation, what all challenges she has faced, what all problems she faced, and how she was able to clear the exam, what was her approach toward the exam. And the reason I am doing all of these videos primarily to give a lot of students who are preparing on their own an idea of how people are clearing the exam, and they should be able to learn from their journey and implement in their own success. So first of all, Mayuri, thank you very much for joining in, and I really appreciate that you have taken out a time for the benefit of the community, and thank you very much for taking out time.
Hi, Ganesh sir. Thank you so much for having me over. It's a pleasure to be on board, and I think you're the kind of person who's helped me so much in the last couple of months that I'll be happy to help whenever possible.
Thank you, Mayuri. So now, primarily for the benefit of the audience, before you started FRM, what were you doing? What was your work experience? What were you working on? Or primarily, what is also your educational background?
Sure. So I don't come from a commerce or finance or economics background at all. I come from a statistics background. I did my bachelor's and master's in statistics from Lady Shri Ram College, Delhi. And I have close to 7.5 years of experience, which is primarily in analytics and data science. So
Okay.
the reason that I got interested in pursuing FRM is because I was working in the financial sector for the last 2 years. And
Okay.
I realized that it would be very important for me to understand the domain better by going through this particular course. So that
Okay.
is the reason for my motivation. I decided to give FRM in July, and I appeared and did my registration. And after that, I started preparing in September.
So from July till September, I mean, you had got the books and all, everything was there?
So the main challenge for me was that I was not really able to figure out where to start from. So
Okay.
I started going through a Hull book. So one of my friends told me that you can start reading this book because it has a lot of good concepts. And I was reading some chapters and I realized later on after I spoke to you that it's not very valuable to go through concepts in so much depth when Shweza books can just cover it all. So
Hmm.
I think prior to September, my study was very haphazard. I was reading some of the topics and then skipping over to some other topics, but it wasn't smart study or planned study.
Okay.
So my proper preparation only began after September mid.
So we basically interacted in the month of September, and that's where you started going through the Swedger in a proper manner, right?
Right.
So initially, when you decided in July, how many hours were you dedicating daily basis?
Um, in July, I was only studying on the weekends. So I would say maybe 2 hours or 3 hours on the weekend.
Okay.
But not a lot of continuous effort and not a lot of tracking because since I did not really have a good plan of where to start and what to cover and what is important, I was just
Hmm.
going through it, going through the motions, going through the content, but
Okay.
not very consistent.
Okay. And then from September onwards, did you start preparing the daily basis, daily hours for preparation?
So, since we spoke in September mid, what really helped me is that Excel tracker that you have created.
Hmm.
Uh, Being a highly organized person, I really appreciate this tracker because every day before I start my work or before I start my studies, I just go through that tracker and I'm doing the same thing
Okay.
for level 2 as well. And I remember I spoke to you on the phone and you had mentioned that these are the most important topics
Hmm.
or most widely covered topics in the exam. You should start going through those. So what I started doing is I started making some daily targets or weekly targets that I will maybe finish 2 chapters in a week or 3 chapters in a week. And the other thing that had helped is when we spoke, you had mentioned that you should try to cover these many chapters and let's speak on Monday. So
Hmm.
that sort of motivated me as well to push myself further and finish, let's say, 5 chapters, 10 chapters in 1 week, 2 weeks, so that we are touching base every Monday to sort of do a progress update.
Right.
Uh, so from then onwards, I had a more organized plan on what to do, how to do it.
Okay. But in terms of hour, was it 2 hour, 3 hour on daily basis, or was it still the weekend part that was going on?
After we spoke, it wasn't 2 hours, but sometimes I was able to do 1 hour and cover up more on the weekend.
Hmm.
But again, it wasn't super consistent that I'm putting in 3 to 4 hours every day. It was more like after work, if I have time, I'm able to manage 1 hour. Otherwise, I'll study more on the weekend.
Okay. And since you had some statistical background, so you found book two slightly easy. Am I correct in that part?
Actually, I realized that I don't really need to study book two because
Okay.
most of these concepts are the basics of statistics that I've done in bachelor's, and quite a lot of these concepts are used very frequently in data science as well, right? So your
Hmm.
regression, your basic of stats are very frequently used in data
Right.
science. So I spent really less time on book two.
So what was the major challenging part? Book one, three, or four?
I think book one took some time. Sorry, not book one. Book three and four took more time,
Okay.
especially this entire section of Black-Scholes Merton model. I remember I called you up figuring out that is this really important? Are we supposed to solve these questions in the exam?
Right.
And a couple of these other topics which I had no exposure with. I found
Okay.
that slightly complex. But what I realized in the exam is that they test you on your ability to understand the concept
Hmm.
more than solving an entire equation or coming up with some very super complex calculations.
Right. Right. So bond valuation was also new for you. VAR was also
Yes,
new for you. Okay.
yes,
Primarily, you had some advantage because of your education and work background, and also you got some disadvantage because you never saw seen these things. So,
yes.
uh, when did you completed your full reading of the content? That means you can say that okay, I've done one Swagger reading.
Actually, that never happened. So
Okay.
I started in mid-September, and my exam was in November. So by November, I was able to finish 50% of the course, and
Okay.
I went with 50%. But I think one good thing that really worked for me is that in book one, most of
Hmm.
the concepts are slightly intuitive to understand if you've worked in the industry. You don't really
Hmm.
need to go through the entire book to answer a question. So even with 50% syllabus, I was able to clear it.
Okay. And what about book three, book four? You were able to complete the entire thing?
Book three, I was able to complete. Book four, also, I think more or less, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So basically, uh, only book one was something which you could not cover properly because of the time
Yeah,
constraint. Now
correct.
you
And
had
some
all
chapters of book four.
some chapters of book four. Okay. I think so. The
Yeah,
stress testing and all of it, those
yes.
chapters. Okay. Those theory chapters.
Yeah.
Now, did you solve the question bank also along with reading of the content or going through the
Uh,
videos?
so what I was doing is, I think you had suggested that you should do a chapter and maybe complete two chapters together and do the chapter wise question bank. So I was
Hmm.
following the same pattern, whatever chapters that I was covering. Let's say I finish two chapters and then I do the entire quiz, then I move
Hmm.
on to the next one. So in my tracker, I was keeping a note of which chapters have I completed from these video lectures and which question banks have I solved. But
Okay.
mostly I did the quizzes only for these chapter wise videos, not the section level and book level quiz. I
A-
didn't have the time for that.
And mock papers also?
No, I didn't do any mock papers.
Oh, okay, okay. So primarily, see, I for the audience, we don't recommend primarily that you start in September and not solve the
Yeah,
sectional test. Only thing was because she was working, she was not able to get initial times, so she had started a bit late, and because of her background, she was able to pick up a lot of concepts. So it became slightly easy for her. But for a normal student, if you're giving a bigger time slot for your preparation, that is more favorable. Now, when you were doing this entire preparation till November, okay, so was there any period where you felt that okay, this is getting more difficult, or you lost faith, or you got irritated with the content? Anything? I mean, any problem that you faced?
yeah. I think 1 week before the exam, I was thinking, why am I doing this? Do I really need to do this? Because my job doesn't really require me directly to do an FRM. I wanted to do it so that it's an add-on to my resume and I can have better
Right.
understanding of financial industry. And I was thinking that I'm working so many hours a day, and then whatever time I have left, I'm studying in these hours. Is it really worth it? My course is just 50% complete. So I had that duration
Mhm.
of dip in confidence, let's say 1 week, 2 week before the exam. But then I thought, let me just give it my best shot, do the revision of whatever I've studied.
Hmm.
Another thing that really helped me is those notes that you have prepared. So you
Hmm.
had shared these summary notes of each chapter, each topic.
Yes. Yes.
So basically, I went through it 1 or 2 days before the exam. So I was able to recall quite a lot of buzzwords and quite a lot of keywords on each topic. So
Okay.
that really helped me. Yeah.
Okay. Now, so basically, you were still reading 2 days before the exam, and no sectional test, no mock papers, right?
No,
So
no.
when you went for the exam, so when you started that 4 hour, first of all, were you able to complete everything in 4 hour?
Actually, FRM doesn't have any negative marking. Plus, it has 100 questions in 4 hours. So the strategy that I took is, if I find a question that I have no clue about, and there
Mhm.
were some questions because I hadn't read that topic, I was just taking an educated guess and moving on to the next one instead of
Okay.
spending too much time.
Okay.
So I did selection that way, and I was able to complete my test in 3.5 hours.
Hmm.
I remember I was the second person to leave the center.
Three and a
There
half
was
hours.
one person who
Okay.
left. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Primarily because
So
all the other concepts were easy for you to pick up as a question. I mean,
yes, so whichever concept I found was too difficult, I was just taking a guess and moving on, rather than really trying to figure out what could be the answer. And the answers which are straightforward, I quickly finished it.
okay. And those questions which you did a calculated guess or a best guess, did you went again to
Mhm.
those questions to see and check it?
I did it for some of them, but I realized it's not going to add any value because if I don't know a concept, even if I
Okay.
take a second turn and third turn, it's not going to change anything. So yeah,
So how many questions were such kind of questions in the out of the 100 questions?
I think it must have been around 10 to 15, I guess.
And the rest 85, you knew the concept, you solved, you
Yeah,
found it easy, and easy in the sense you were able to solve the question and you got the answer also.
yes. My
Okay.
paper was also more theory heavy. So the concepts that I understood well, I knew that this is correct and I could move on to the next one.
Okay. Wow. Okay. For because I've till now, whenever I'm talking to people, nobody has been able to complete in 3.5 hours. So that is
Okay.
one point. And second point being,
Mhm.
this also highlights that, see, if we leave that 10-15 questions which you did not study, in the rest of the
Mhm.
questions, your concept was proper, so you were able to pick up the right question, the right solution,
Yes.
and basically you were able to reach the pass the exam. This is a good
Yes.
point that people should understand, because a lot of people feel that it's quant heavy and we'll have to sit to things very fast, but actually in the exam, the last exam, there was nothing like that. So if your concepts
Yeah.
are clear, you will be able to clear the exam. Now, uh, primarily, in that 3.5 hour, okay, what was the speed that you're carrying? Did you had anything in mind that, okay, every hour I'll be covering, say, this much number of question or something like that?
Um, I was keeping a track of time. So basically, on the timer, it was showing how much time is left. And then
Right.
I think in one of the videos, you had mentioned how much time you should devote on each question, like the max time.
Mhm.
Um, I think it was somewhere around 1.5 minute, right? Not more than that you
Two
can
two minutes
spend
actually.
on
Yep.
it. 2 minutes, okay. So I was trying to keep only 1.5 minute on each question and then move on to the next one. I was also keeping a track of how many questions are pending,
Hmm.
like before 1 hour is left or 2 hours is left. But
Okay.
I was not trying to rush through it. I was just trying to make sure that I'm able to complete everything without spending too much time on something that I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Now, when you completed the exam and when you came out, what was your thought process? You were confident that, okay, 85 questions that I've solved, it's good
Yeah.
and I'll
So
clear the
when I
exam.
came out, the first thought that I had was, why am I the second person to come out and what is everyone else doing? Because I think in my center we had probably 15 people, and just
Okay.
one guy left 5 minutes before me, and I thought it's okay. I'm also done. What else do I do? And I left. And
Okay.
then I was just thinking, did I miss anything? Did I do the right thing? And but more or less, I was confident that at least the theory questions that I attempted were correct. My
Hmm.
only concern was that if the pass rate is too low,
Hmm.
then I may not. And that was my main worry, that even though I've attempted probably okayish, but if the exam is too difficult, if the pass rate is low, then I might not clear it.
Okay. 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 And now, what? So you've got the exam. What are the quartiles that you've got in the exam?
I got between 50 to 75 percentile in all the four books.
Okay, so second, basically. All those books seconds, quartiles.
Yeah.
Now, when the result came in, now, what has been the reaction of people around you, and especially your office
Actually,
guys?
Yeah, when the result came in, my first reaction was, is this a mistake? So I basically
Okay.
refreshed that GARB dashboard a couple of times, like, no, I have actually cleared it.
Okay.
Even my colleagues that I spoke to, they were quite happy. So currently, I'm working in an investment bank. And in this particular organization, they really value these
Hmm.
professional courses and certifications like FRM CFA.
Hmm.
So people were happy about it that I cleared it even while working and with 7, 8 years of experience. So it was a positive reaction.
Perfect. And now suppose if somebody comes and asks you for 3 tips for how to clear FRM level 1, what would be those 3 tips?
I think the first one would be really spend time to understand a concept rather than trying to uh, finish the course just for the sake of it. I remember on some of your videos, a concept that I didn't understand, I'd watch it twice, or maybe just rewind and watch that particular bits and pieces to completely visualize the concept, completely understand it inside out. So even if
Okay.
you ask me that question 100 different ways, I know the solid basics of it and I'll be able to answer it. So I think tip one would be definitely spend time on fundamentals, understanding each and every concept. And these videos are really helpful because you also have these Excel calculations, you have these real life examples, and a couple of other things which are quite easy to relate to.
Hmm.
Second would be smart study. So I think most of the student, the first instinct is let me finish everything,
Hmm.
and
Yes.
only then I'll move on to doing the
I hear
quizzes
I
or
hear
doing
about
the
this
questions.
very often. I hear about this. I'll complete everything and then
Yeah,
I'll solve.
but that's not a smart strategy because by the time you finish the entire syllabus, you might not even recall what you studied in the first chapter. So I think
Right.
it's better to consistently keep solving these quizzes in a
Hmm.
time bound manner as if you are appearing for the actual exam.
Right.
Uh, and just have smart study in the way that the most important topics are covered first and the remaining can be taken up subsequently. And third would be have consistency, maybe something that I didn't really follow initially, but I'm trying to do for level two, but have
Hmm.
consistent study practice so that some of the concepts that you're studying earlier don't become alien by the time your exam date comes. So
Right.
consistently studying and revising and having a proper schedule.
Perfect. Perfect. I mean, this entire journey. I mean, there are a lot of points which we, obviously normal students should not follow. You had some experience and some background on
Mhm.
stats, so definitely it helped. But the normal student should start early, do the
Yeah,
reading before, if possible, before paying that $950, and then solve the question bank and all of it. So, but your journey is definitely going to give a lot of motivation for people that still who are working and going for the exam. It is not difficult. I mean, you have to just
yeah,
prioritize your time, focus on Saturdays and Sundays, and relate your office work towards it. Because if you're able to connect a lot of your current work with your question bank and your content, it'll be easy for you to pick up those things and go ahead in your curriculum. So your journey is
yeah,
definitely going to add value to their understanding and their points, that even if starting at mid of September, you can still clear the exam. Okay, because you had so many points which is not normally recommended, because you did not solve any question bank, your reading was
yeah.
also not full, but somehow you managed to understand the concept properly, which you could utilize. So thank you very much, Mayuri, I mean, for sharing this journey. And this is going to be wonderful for the audience to get a flavor of different people, because there are other people who
Yeah.
have cleared in a very different way and you have cleared in a very different way. So I will add value to their knowledge and they will be more confident to go for the exam. So thank you very much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.